This is the heartbeat of human services, a peek into the inspiring stories of our community and all things DHS. Join us.
Hi there, I'm your host, Janice Slagle, for the podcast, The Heartbeat of Human Services. And today we're so excited to have with us our newly appointed Director of the Department of Human Services, Lito Morillo. Hey, Lito.
Hey, Jana, how are you?
Great. Well, congratulations on this new position. We're so excited.
I'm excited too. Thank you very much.
That's great. And I think when I was watching the board meeting online, I noticed that when you were appointed, you mentioned your wife, and I thought that was so nice. So she was there with you. And
yeah, so funny thing about that is, so I was obviously, it was a really fast-paced day for me, and the board appointed me and said, come back at 2 and, say a few things. I'm like, okay, great. And I texted my wife because it was a real short window there, and I said, hey, if you can make it, great. Because she had some appointments, so I wasn't even sure if she was going to be there.
Yeah.
And if you know my wife, she's really, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this on a podcast already. But if you know my wife, she's really conservative, very private, and last thing she wants to be is in the limelight, let alone even close to a board meeting at that point. But so she was able to make it, to my surprise, which was great. I appreciate the support,
great.
Absolutely. And I introduced her to it, and she definitely gave me a handful when I got home. So there you go.
I'm glad. Well, it's nice to have that support from home, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I'm sure she's your cheerleader, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and my kids had school, and they didn't get to make it, but yeah, absolutely, families first. Yeah.
And so you have 2 sons, right?
I do. I have a son that's in college. He's about to graduate now, and I have a younger son that is a sophomore at Liberty High.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And so, tell us a little bit. I don't know if were you born in Bakersfield? Are you from this area?
Yeah. So I was born in the Philippines, actually, in a small province. It's called Mindanao. It's a small island outside of Manila. And I moved here when I was 8 years old, and been here since. We had a stint where we moved back in 1983. God, I'm really dating myself when I say that, but
hey, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where my parents said, I think our lives would be better if we moved back to the Philippines. It just didn't work out that way. They really missed living here, so we moved back here. But pretty much been here ever since.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. So, do you speak Tagalog?
I don't want to say I speak it because it's as broken as you can get.
It's like my Spanglish kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right.
And there's like well over 150 dialects in the Philippines, right?
Wow,
and so I only know how to speak 2, or I understand 2, which is Tagalog, and the other is Visayan. Okay. And when I speak it, it is all over the place. It is. I can't tell you. And I'll throw some English in there, right?
Right.
And so when I'm speaking with somebody that knows how to speak Tagalog, I'll throw some Visayan in there, and they'll be like deer in the headlights, kind of like, what are you saying? And I'll flip that around when I'm talking to somebody that knows Visayan. I throw a little Tagalog. It's just weird that way.
I bet. And so that we have a wonderfully large Filipino community in Delano, don't we?
We do.
Really?
Grew up in Delano. Went to, obviously, elementary and high school in Delano. And have a lot of friends and family still in Delano.
That's
absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay, and so is your wife also from the area, or is she?
She is. Yeah, she was born here. I've always tried to ask if she wanted to visit the Philippines. I've visited, and my kids haven't yet, and I'd love to obviously take them to give them that experience. It's just different.
Beautiful area.
It's a beautiful area, and then you still have a third world perspective of the area, and that by itself gives you a little bit more, again, perspective in terms of what you have here, because it is different when you're coming from a third world country.
Right.
So.
I think traveling helps us be grateful sometimes, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah. That's good. Well, I hope you can bring them there. That sounds neat. Well, that's great to know a little bit more about your family. And I was looking at different things you'd done before, too. And can you give us a little bit about your history? Like, where have you worked? Did you start out extra help somewhere like some of us? Or
Yeah, so I think that's the normal pattern. You start somewhere extra help and you get a feel for it, right? So I started with Employers Training Resource as an administrative intern, extra help.
Oh, okay.
I was going to college at Cal State Bakersfield still. And then about 2 years into that stint, I was about to graduate Cal State, and I found the eligibility worker. That's what it was called back then. and I applied for that position altogether. And it was weird because that was in 1994. God, I'm really dating myself when I'm talking this.
I love it.
And, when you interview, you just never know, right? And so you get a feel of the interview panel. At least I try to get a feel of the interview, even back then. And I swear to you, the interview panel I had were all stone cold, didn't give me any
smiles.
No impression, no. I couldn't tell if they were reading me or I was just, So I really didn't feel like I would be getting the job. And I was fortunate. 2 weeks later, I got the call, and they definitely, said they liked my interview and everything else, and that really started my county career.
That's so cool.
So I started as an eligibility worker in '94.
So people who are just starting as eligibility workers, I hope you hear that, because you could someday be the director too.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That's
Yeah.
great.
If you would ask me, what I foresee myself back, it would have been too hard. But yeah, here I am now.
That's so great. And so then, did that turn into a permanent job, or what
it
was
did.
next?
So it was a permanent job when I applied for eligibility worker, and then I just kind of worked my way through. I'm trying to get the timeline down, but I became a eligibility supervisor, oddly enough, the same time I became an admin coordinator. So, you kind of apply for both jobs that become available.
See which one you get, huh?
Yeah, and I was 2 days into that eligibility supervisor position when Pat Cheadle, who was the previous director here,
I remember Pat.
Called and said, "Hey, I'd like to interview you for the admin coordinator position." And soon enough, I interviewed for that and got that position and became her admin coordinator.
Okay.
And, I could tell you that over the years, the experiences that I had as an eligibility worker absolutely prepares you. I mean, because you get so in tune with the clients and the work that's the level of work that needs to be done to get things done as far as getting services out. And then when I started working for Pat as an admin coordinator, I started really getting more administrative level understanding of everything from budgets to personnel to space. So that allowed me to experience other things. And then I promoted to assistant program director. And about 8 months into that position, Aging and Adult Services had an opening for program director. And Chris Grasty, who used to work here as the child welfare assistant director,
Chris,
actually hired me over there as a program director in 2007, August.
Okay.
Yeah, August 2007. And then I was a program director for 4 years. And then in 2011, Chris retired. And then that's when the board appointed me as director of Aging and Adult Services. So
that's great.
That's kind of like
that's your journey
20
through the
plus
county.
years in 2 minutes or less, I guess, right?
That was good. You did a good job there. So Aging and Adult Services is close to my heart. I love how they really do a good job. You guys have done a great job reaching out to our aging folks and making sure their needs are met throughout the county. And we try to partner with you in different ways.
Absolutely,
so I'm glad you bring that experience of that to us, and then also knowing what it's like, because being an eligibility worker, you really understand the front lines of the people that we're reaching every day, the ones that really need our help,
Without
right?
a doubt, yeah.
So that's huge that you bring that background and just kind of came up through the ranks, and that's great. Is there, as you're just beginning this job, we'd like to just hear a little bit about your thoughts on starting as the director. You're probably still pondering all of that, but
as I speak with you now, my head is definitely racing.
I'm sure.
There's a lot of thoughts and trying to visualize everything, trying to get a bearing on where everything's at. Obviously, meeting with the wonderful staff here, your staff, you and your staff included. It's in the room, and they're all smiling at me as I'm shaking here probably in front of everybody. But I'm really looking forward to working with everybody here. I really have a lot of ties still here because of the friends and relationships I've had over the years with yourself and obviously Karina. I've known you guys forever, and I've been fortunate that I've always kept those relationships. And in saying all that, I mean, DHS is part of me. It is. Even though I left for as many years as I did, it is still part of me. I think if you get to this department, become part of this department, I can tell you it is part of you, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
It is part of you.
Right.
And I could tell you a whole host of people that have gone through Department of Human Services and done other things in the county and still have memories of human services. My first recollection of human services is really not even me. My dad, and I shared this at my appointment board meeting. My dad was a CPS social worker.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was. And actually, he was an eligibility worker and then became a CPS social worker and then an employment social worker in that order.
In Kern County?
Yeah, I couldn't remember the years if you're asking me.
No, that's okay. That's huge.
But yeah,
that influenced you a lot.
So that absolutely gave me perspective of what this agency is all about and how hard this agency works in terms of the work that they do and the good work that they do within the community. So
yeah, it's really the largest county department, isn't it, in the county?
It is.
And we have the most employees, so it is quite a big deal to get this job. So we're happy that you're going to be leading us. We're excited to see the changes and just that you bring such a heartbeat to the heartbeat of human services. You really do bring that with the background you've shared and the way that you look at things. And so
I mean, this department is you're right. It's huge. It is the largest department in the county. To my understanding, there's 1,800 employees. We have a $533 million budget. The budget I came from was $26 million, so considerably a lot more. But it's amazing when you kind of take a step back and look at the amount of work that this department does for the community.
Yeah,
it touches a large portion of this community.
It absolutely does.
So it's just pretty amazing, and I'm just glad to be part of that team.
Well, we welcome you, and we just thank you for coming on our podcast today.
Thank you.
As we end, is there anything else you want to say that I didn't talk about?
I think we covered everything.
Okay.
And just real quickly, thinking off the top of my head, I am just excited to be here. I know the challenges that we all have to face, and just the amazing team that's already here working day in, day out, whether it's the management team, obviously, or line staff, or anyone that's involved with this department, including our partners. I'm looking forward to working with all of them.
Yeah, I know we're all looking forward to working with you, too. Well, thank you, Lito, for talking with us today. We are so happy that you're here, and we just look forward to working together.
I appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank you. And obviously, if I haven't yet, I'd love to get the opportunity to meet every single person that works in this department at some point. I can honestly tell you, probably won't remember every single name. That's the God honest truth.
Okay.
But the reality is, I am absolutely looking forward to meeting everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you for being our guest today, Lito, on the Heartbeat of Human Services. And for all you listeners, we'll see you next time.
I'm your co-host, Paula Hernandez, and let's get into today's Mindful Minute. We will be talking about walking meditation. Usually after a long day of work, I like to take my dog out for a walk and use it as a time of reflection and giving thanks to the good things in my life. And it just feels so uplifting to be in the sun walking around my neighborhood, seeing and smelling the rose bushes in bloom or the fresh cut grass. To my surprise, this is a shared experience and more purposeful meditation for some. Even my co-host Allison informed me that this is a practice that is commonly used in various traditions and cultures already, but in a more intentional way. A man who avidly uses this practice perfectly quoted this form of meditation, saying, "The practice of mindful walking is a profound and pleasurable way to deepen our connection with our body and the earth. We breathe, take a mindful step, and come back to our true home." So my assignment for you today is to disconnect from technology or that project you've been working on for hours and take a walk. This has been your Mindful Minute.
Thank you for joining us for the Heartbeat of Human Services podcast today. We hope you'll join us next time.